Friends, there are many instances when religion is used to hide behind hate, and unfortunately, we bear witness to one of those instances today as we speak out against the Reverend Jeremiah Wright, who has come here to Miami, Florida at the behest of a church. Given the fact that Reverend Wright was once the spiritual advisor of now President Barack Obama, his bigoted speech has been widely reported in the media and has reached the majority of the American masses, turning Wright into a household name. Reverend Wright has a number of targets that he chooses to lambast, his most famous being that of America. In 2003, he emphatically stated to his congregation during a sermon, quote, "The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing, 'God bless America.' No, no, no. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating our citizens as less than human. God damn America for as long as she acts like she is God and she is supreme," end quote. What Reverend Wright, in all his bigoted wisdom, fails to acknowledge is that the same America he is cursing is allowing him the freedom to do so. Reverend Wright, as well, has blamed the United States for the 9/11 attacks on the U.S. The following Sunday, after the attacks, he stated, quote, "We bombed Hiroshima, we bombed Nagasaki, and we nuked far more than the thousands in New York and the Pentagon, and we never batted an eye. We have supported state terrorism against the Palestinians and black South Africans, and now we are indignant because the stuff we have done overseas is now brought right back to our own front yards. America's chickens are coming home to roost," end quote. Another favorite target of Reverend Wright's is Jews. Usually Wright's brand of anti-Semitism surfaces in the form of anti-Zionism, but there are times when this leads him to attack members of the entire Jewish community. In June 2009, he told Virginia's Daily Press, quote, "Them Jews ain't going to let him, President Obama, talk to me. He's got to do what politicians do. And the Jewish vote, the AIPAC vote that's controlling him, that will not let him send representation to the Darfur Review Conference that's talking this craziness on Israel because they're Zionists. They will not let him talk to somebody who calls a spade what it is," end quote. Yet another choice target of Reverend Wright is white people. On Christmas Day in 2007, he stated about Barack Obama and his then opponent, Hillary Clinton, quote, "Barack knows what it means living in a country and a culture that is controlled by rich white people. Hillary can never know that. Hillary ain't never been called a nigger," end quote. Wright has also taken aim at Italians. In the November-December 2007 issue of his church's Trumpet magazine, in a eulogy of the late scholar Asa Hilliard, he referred to Italians as, quote, "garlic noses." He wrote, quote, "The Italians, for the most part, look down their garlic noses at the Galileans." Much of Reverend Wright's bigotry makes sense, especially his feelings towards whites and Jews, given his ties with Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan, who has himself described white people as, quote, "potential humans," and Jews as, quote, "satanic." In fact, in March 2007, during an interview, Wright admitted to traveling with Louis Farrakhan to Libya to meet with Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi. This is the same Muammar Gaddafi that was involved in the December 1988 terrorist bombing of Pan Am Flight 103, which resulted in the deaths of 270 innocent people. Wright stated, quote, "When his enemies find out that in 1984 I went to Tripoli to visit Colonel Muammar el-Gaddafi with Farrakhan, a lot of his Jewish support will dry up quicker than a snowball in hell," end quote. Gaddafi had provided Farrakhan with a $5 billion interest-free loan the following year. This was not the first terrorist-related leader Reverend Wright would become associated with. In his July 2007 church newsletter, Wright reprinted an article written by Hamas leader Musa Abu Marzouk. It is actions such as these and controversial statements such as those previously mentioned that have forced President Obama to distance himself from Wright, which could not be easy given the fact that he was a member of Wright's church for so many years and that Wright officiated his wedding with First Lady Michelle Obama. President Obama even named a book he had written after a speech made by Reverend Wright titled The Audacity of Hope. But with all of the bigotry that Wright has spread, he probably should have named it The Audacity of Hate instead. Reverend Wright should be condemned for his bigoted statements and actions. Unfortunately, though, he is getting a forum to spew his hate today as the featured speaker here in Miami, Florida, at the Church of the Open Door for the church's annual Amistad Sunday. The Amistad was the name of a ship traveling from Cuba to the U.S. in 1839, carrying a cargo of Africans who had been sold into slavery in Cuba. Following a mutiny, the slaves sought freedom. It is ironic that this church in front of us would bring a racist and bigot such as Jeremiah Wright to speak at such a function celebrating freedom from racism. Reverend Wright's type of bigotry should never be embraced by anyone. It should be shunned and exposed, as we are doing here today. Thank you for standing with me for this purpose. God bless America. Thank you.